Hello, good morning. My name is Carolina. I'm the author of the book Euphoric Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You, and I am also a certified alcohol-free life coach. And welcome to Euphoric AF. I love that name, Euphoric AF, by the way. A lot of people ask me, like, which AF are you talking about? And the official name of my company is actually Euphoric Alcohol Free. So, Euphoric AF, the AF stands for alcohol free, right? And a lot of people think AF means, AF as fuck, right? And that's kind of cool too, right? Because I'm euphoric as really happy, like I'm really like living it. But it does mean euphoric, alcohol free. So I got an incredible question from a client today about how to get started as a coach yourself. If you know you want to help people, if you know you want to like really use your transformation with your relationship with alcohol and make changes and help other people, how do you actually get started in the coaching business and launch your own business, get certified, all the things, build a business, get clients, all those kinds of stuff. So I'm going to just do a little preliminary on how to get started. I think that what's really cool about changing your relationship with alcohol is that you go from like, feeling like you're the only one, just really struggling, feeling like you have just this vulnerability on your chest, and then you really start to see alcohol in a different way. You recognize that like everyone struggles with alcohol, and I don't mean everyone literally, but like, come on, like the vast majority of people who drink regularly are not living their best happy life with alcohol. Like most people overdrink. That's just the reality. And so you start to see it all around you and you start to recognize like, wow, like maybe my transformation inspired my friends, or maybe like people are starting to look up to me or ask me how I did it. And so you might be interested in becoming a coach yourself. And so, how to get started, right? How to help other people. And I'm going to kind of give you an overview today and a huge mistake I don't want you to make. So, becoming a coach is a really cool process because not only are you getting learning about how to help other people and, getting certified and learning about like coaching or, just being able to change someone's mindset through thought work and questions and all these different things, but you're also like laying down your own philosophy of how to change your relationship with alcohol. And I think that's what's so cool, is because you go from the student to the teacher. And when you go from the student to the teacher, like something really solidifies in your mind as like, I'm an expert. I'm not struggling with this anymore. I don't struggle with this at all. And so like imagine that like you always struggled in history classes, right? And so you never really got good grades in history. History was really hard for you to remember. And all of a sudden something just clicked, and all of a sudden you love learning about history, and you really start watching a lot of documentaries or reading a lot of books, and all of a sudden like you count yourself an expert and maybe even go on to actually become a history teacher. Like all of a sudden your confidence in what you know and what you can teach goes up through the roof because you've now had to make your own philosophy around it. So, like, it's great to learn from me. It's great to learn from someone like Amy Grace or Holly Whitaker or whatever have you. But until you make your own philosophy about the alcohol free lifestyle, it's all our perspective. It's my perspective or her perspective or his perspective. You want to really decide on what your perspective is going to be and how the alcohol free lifestyle and what it means to you, what this change looks like, and how someone could change. Because the way that I changed my relationship with alcohol might not resonate for every single person on this planet. Same thing with someone like Annie Grace or Holly Whitaker. And so I really truly believe that we need more people out there who are actually sharing and showing people what's possible. You know what I mean? We really do need more. The amount of people who are out there struggling with a relationship with alcohol compared to how many people are out there helping, it's astronomical, the difference, right? And so as you become, like when you go from a student to a teacher, it also really changes how you see alcohol. The second I started thinking that I was going to write a book around changing a relationship with alcohol or like launching a business, I never thought of drinking ever again. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that like in total finality terms, but like it just switched something for me. It just went from like, no, like I'm not going back to that. And that happened for me relatively quickly. I was only a few months into my alcohol free journey when I was like, yes, I want to teach on this. I want to share advice about this. I want to write a book about this. And so it really made it something that I didn't struggle with anymore because I kind of shifted away from being the student to the teacher. And something happens really cool in your identity when you do that too. Your identity is like now, well, oh, I'm the one who can explain this to my friends, or I'm the one who has this figured out. So it's a really cool way to do that. Not only shift your identity from the student to the teacher, but also to really figure out your own philosophy of change, your own philosophy of how to change one at all in any realm of your life, but specifically with a relationship with alcohol. And it really gets the gears in your brains thinking. which I just think is so cool and so beautiful. So how do you actually become a coach and launch a business? And one mistake I don't want people to make. So, becoming a coach, like if you want to, coach one-on-one people and actually have sessions with people, it does usually require a certification, right? And so getting a certification is, you want to Google what's available. I got certified with This Naked Mind, and before that, I also had a life coaching certification. There are other organizations out there that provide certification in this area. There's This Naked Mind, there's She Recovers. I think I don't want to missay it, but there's another one called like Sober Girl something. There's like a gray area drinking certification. So there's all these certifications out there that are available. And now here's the crazy thing. Is a lot of people wait. A certification program usually happens once a year. Maybe it takes a whole year to get certified or a long time to get certified. And you're just like, you're waiting for that to happen before you take the next step. And I actually see that as a really big mistake that new coaches make, is that they wait until they're certified to launch their business. And why do I think that's a mistake? I think that's a mistake because, one, like waiting to enroll in a certification, I mean, it takes a long time. It might be not something you're even ready for right now financially or just in your life at all. And then even the process of being in a program takes a long time. And then by the time you're out, like you're just on your feet and you have to like launch a business and know what you're doing, right? So what I actually suggest is that you build a business before you get certified. Now, I don't necessarily mean you work with clients if you want to or you don't. Like, now here's the thing. I think everyone, if they're going to be coaching people, if they're going to be working one-on-one with people, I think getting a certification just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like there's so many certifications out there, and some of them are shorter and less expensive than others. So if that's a consideration, you can find ones that are more suitable for you. I really think that everyone should get one though, because it's like you really learn an in-depth process of doing coaching and changing mindsets. However, now here's the caveat. So many people who work in this industry are not certified, right? So many people. And I'm talking about the famous people, the people who have huge businesses and brands. Some of them never got certified. Some of them just started teaching. They just started teaching what they knew. I'm talking like some of the biggest authors and some of the biggest like schools out there around changing your relationship with alcohol. Some of those people never got certified. And I'm not going to name names here, but a lot of people in this industry never got certified, right? They just started teaching upon what they knew. Now, again, caveat, I do think that it's a really good idea to get certified because you'll just expand your learning, but I'm just saying you don't have to wait until you get certified in order to get started. So here's the thing. Building a business takes a long time. First you got to figure out your website, you got to like register a domain name, you have to register with your state or your state if you live in the United States or wherever you live, you have to register it, you have to file a business. You have to start building a social media presence. You have to, put yourself out there. You have to start building an email list. You have to start building a brand and just a voice and your own philosophy. And maybe you don't want to offer coaching. Maybe you want to offer courses or do kind of other kind of programs. So it takes a long time to build those too. So that's the thing, is launching a business takes a long time. And that's why I think it's a mistake to wait until you're certified to launch a business, because by the time you finish being certified, you'll have to hit the ground running, and it's going to be so hard to get clients because you don't even have anything going on for yourself. You have no social media presence, you don't know any contacts in the space, like you have nothing, right? And so if you wanted to help other people, my advice for you is actually to get started by sharing advice on the internet. So I got this question from a client because she's interested in becoming a coach, and obviously, getting a certification is a great idea. It's something that everyone I think should do, but I'm just saying you don't have to wait until you do that. So I think the first step, if you want to help people, is actually sharing advice on the internet. Now, if you think about it, in the old school kind of way that the internet used to run, we used to have this idea of bloggers, right? A blogger in no shape or form was necessarily a coach. They were just sharing information. They're sharing stuff about their life. They're sharing stuff about maybe what they know. Maybe they're teaching a little in their blogs, 5 steps to whatever, how to whatever. And in that way, they are really sharing meaningful advice and value with the world, even though they're not necessarily a certified coach, right? And so I think that's a really good avenue to take when you want to launch and help other people in this industry. Because first of all, like launching a website and a blog or, getting a social media, like you are able to build a brand presence. You are able to start attracting people into your sphere. You're able to build followers on Instagram. You're able to build email list subscribers, and all of that then will serve you and be really like prime for you once you're ready to start coaching one-on-one. And maybe you don't even want to coach one-on-one. Maybe you just want to offer like a course or some kind of program. Then again, you're going to be really primed to do that. But it takes a long time to build those things. And that's why I think it's a mistake to wait to build those kinds of things. So what I would, again, advise anyone to do if they want to get started is actually to buy a domain name and start building out a website. Now, you might be at this stage where you want to help people, but you're still not sure, like, what are you going to call it? And maybe, if I did a certification program, I'd get a little more clarity about how this business will run. A lot of programs don't actually have any business skills embedded in them whatsoever. This Naked Mind does, but not a lot. Most of them don't, right? So they don't actually teach you how to launch a business. You still have to learn how to do that on top of a coaching certification. But I mean, even if you're not even sure what you're going to name your business or what it's going to be moving forward, like you can always name it after your name. You can always buy the domain name of your first and your last name if it's available, right? Because you are always going to be part of the brand. You are always going to be the main figure of it. And the thing is, like, another mistake I see a lot of new coaches make is like name their brand something really random that just makes no sense, like butterfly coaching or chopsticks are here coaching. I don't know, just these random names that might be cute or funny now, but in 5 years from now, like they're not going to be aligned with that brand. So like even if you're not sure what your domain name should be, you can always, always, always resort to buying your first and last name as a domain name and go from there. And so after you have bought your domain name, you can start building out a website. And you don't even have to share that you're a coach or that you're offering help. You just share stuff about you. You just share your story. Maybe you start writing a blog. And a blog is really cool because, again, it's going to help solidify your philosophy on change. Like, you're going to be giving advice out on the internet, right? So with a blog, you can have like 5 steps to, turn down a drink at a bar, 5 steps to whatever, how to this, 10 things you need to know. All these kinds of different either listicles or articles or maybe, like kind of personal vignettes into your life. It really helps you formulate your ideas and your thoughts. And so I think sharing advice on the internet is the first place to get started. Now, maybe you're not ready to start blogging, or maybe blogging's old school for you. A podcast is a great idea. Videos are a great idea, obviously. But if you don't want to go that route, like an even easier route is to start with social media. So, you can, again, get a social media handle. You can make it your name, or if you already know that there's some kind of brand name that you want, as long as like you like it, because you are going to be married to it for a while, you can change it, but you can then start sharing advice on social media. And now I've seen this happen so much. There's so many accounts out there that share advice about sobriety or being alcohol free that aren't coaches, that don't have a business attached to it. They're just sharing advice, or they're just sharing their story or their experience. So this is a really easy place to get started. And again, it helps you practice honing in like what the advice you have to give. You know what I mean? So think about it. I've written a book. I've helped a lot of people change their relationship with alcohol. I have like 4 courses. I have a lot of stuff going on in my business. But before I had 0, I had nothing. And I really learned how to, for example, to write my book. The book was written, sure, but it wasn't the first time I ever shared those ideas. Those ideas had come out of me and been expressed in other ways before that book came out. I had written blog posts about that. I had written social media posts. I had talked to people about it. So it's like as if I was like talking out loud my philosophy before the book ever came out. And that will also be really helpful for you. And maybe there's some things that you struggled with to change your relationship with alcohol that you haven't really seen been talked about on the internet. And that's like a perfect place to get started, to write a blog or to share a social media post about that. So if you want to get started as a coach and help other people, obviously I think getting certified is a really incredible step, and I really recommend it for everyone. But don't make the mistake to think that you have to wait to get certified in order to launch a business. Launch a business now and start researching certification programs, right? And as you launch your business, start sharing advice on the internet. You can blog, you can podcast, you can do videos, you can do reels, you can obviously have a social media presence, and all those things will really help not only build your presence online, but also what it is that you believe and what it is your philosophy about how someone can change and go for an alcohol-free lifestyle. So start there. And then, like I said, there's certification programs you can take that will help you actually develop the skills to work with someone one-on-one, and the questions you should ask, and how to really go about different issues or problems. Those are really, really great. And I think everyone should be certified if they're working one-on-one with people, but you don't have to wait to do that step in order to just share advice on the internet. I shared advice. So if you ever want to know about my story, how I became a coach, there's a podcast episode that was released last year just called How I Became an Alcohol-Free Life Coach. So you can tune into that episode and learn more about my process. But basically everything I just said is what I did. So I started by sharing advice on the internet. I started with a social media account and a website. And my social media account and website had a blog, and I would just share stuff. I would share mocktails. I would share advice. I would share tips. I would share hacks. I would share mindset shifts. I would just share from my experience. I would share my story. You know, a lot of times we learn by learning from someone else's story because we can then see ourselves in that and also affect change that way. So that's what I did for like 6 months before I was even ready to sell anything. You know, and I got certified as a life coach first, and then I started building my programs and selling those, and I got certified with This Naked Mind. So like my process to learn how to become a better coach to me is the process. Like I keep learning, and there's other kind of certifications that I'm looking to get in the future as well. But again, don't make the mistake to think you have to be certified in order to get started. Start by sharing information online. Buy the website domain, start the social media account, and just start sharing things that really worked for you. Maybe you can even start sharing what books were helpful for you or what podcasts were helpful for you. Like this stuff, even though might feel like, oh my God, everyone has a sober account these days, like this information is already being shared out there. It's not being shared with your voice. It's not being shared with your perspective. And like I said, you know, what I've learned and my philosophy is so different from like Annie Grace's or Holly Whitaker's or someone like that. I mean, not necessarily that different, but I'm saying like we all relate to different people. So even if you think it's been overshared and there's just so much out there, so much information, there's like millions of people who've never seen any of that. And they often need to hear it from you in the way that you would explain it versus the way I would explain it or the way Annie Grace would explain it. So it's not too late to start sharing information on the internet. And then, like I said, there's certification programs you can start researching and making a plan for getting certified if you do want to work one-on-one with people. And I'll just end to say, although I believe everyone should get certified to be a coach, there are a lot of famous people in this industry who never got certified. So, you know, you don't have to do that to get started. But I think it's really great to develop your skills that way. But please just start by sharing advice on the internet. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a live Q&A. Questions from my students and clients. If you're interested in working with me or joining one of my courses, please do check out euphoricaf.com. I love working with women to not only change their relationship with alcohol, but decide what comes next. What is the next big passion or purpose that you're going to unleash now that you have all of your mental energy and motivation back? And it's really that transformation that is so exciting to me. So do check out euphoricaf.com if you'd want to work with me personally or you want to enroll in my course, Become Euphoric. And thank you so much for joining today. If you have a question, please use the form in your course for next week, and I'll be sure to answer it. And wishing you all a lovely day.